Welcome back, and let's now talk about the politics over one nation, one election that continues after the government constituted an 8-member panel headed by former President Ram Nath Kovind. The leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, declined the invitation to be part of this 8-member panel, calling it an eyewash. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi alleged that the idea of one nation, one election is an attack on the Indian Union. Congress party has also raised questions against the government for not including the leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha in this particular panel, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, in this committee, calling the move a diversionary tactic and a ploy against the regional parties. The debate over one nation, one election has to be taken into the right context. The idea was first mooted in the 1980s. However, it was never implemented in the way and manner which was one envisioned by many leaders. Many people have spoken about it. Is this reform being politicized for political gains? More importantly, is this really a diversionary tactic, or once again a substantial idea of reform is being held hostage to the politics and the political interests at stake? We discuss on Viewpoint tonight.
After the India Alliance formation and our 3 consecutive meetings, they are very much panicked. That is why they are hurrying up.
One nation, one election, one nation. अरे हमको क्या मिलेगा one election की 10 election की 12 election? बताओ आम आदमी को कुछ मिलेगा one nation, one election, one nation 100 election, one nation 1000 election? हमको क्या मिला?
इस मसले को छेड़कर तो ये जमहूरियत को की जड़ों को खोखला करना चाहते हैं और हिंदुस्तान से जमहूरियत खत्म करके ये डिक्टेटरशिप लाना चाहते हैं.
One nation, one election is good for the people of India, and the people of India realize it. But it is certainly bad for parties like the Congress. It is bad for parties that prey on weak and vulnerable people and have no interest in a prosperous India.
Well, joining us on the broadcast is Neeti Jain, who's a spokesperson of BJP, Matthew Antony from the Congress party, and Mr. Raj Gopalan, who's a senior journalist, continue to be with us on the broadcast. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Neeti, let me ask you to open the debate. You have a statement that has come in from Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, who's declined to be a part of this panel. The Congress party also says that various other senior leaders have not been included in this committee. They're not a part of this committee. And the idea like one nation, one election is such a serious political reform that goes to the idea of democracy in this country. It requires serious consideration. It's being used as a diversionary tactic ahead of the upcoming polls at the Assembly and the Lok Sabha elections. Respond to that argument.
You know, Anusha, first I'd like to start by saying that the degree of fear in this alliance is directly proportionate to the kind of fear-mongering that they're resorting to about different issues. So when they came in with their press conference the last time, they had nothing that they had decided on, and they were talking about how media is scared and how everything else is scared. And then they've come up with this propaganda of negativizing this one nation, one vote. This is not a new idea. There have been various committees that have been formed in the past. It is up to them to attend or to not attend. But the problem, they do not have any factual reason to not be a part of this debate. All they are saying is कि democracy खत्म हो जाएगी. भैया कैसे खत्म हो जाएगी? Give me one reason that you say that this is going to affect in any way the democracy. You're saying that the votes are going to matter, sir. Odisha is the biggest example in 2019. The votes happened together. Odisha, the state government was different. The central government was different. Don't think that the citizens of this country are idiots. Stop treating them like one. You're creating propagandas on something that does not exist. This issue has been in discussion for a very long time. Neither is this being brought up for the first time, nor is it going to be, I hope it is going to be the last time that we're forming committees and we come to a certain conclusion either way. But the problem is, why create a propaganda around something that is definitely going to be a reform for the country towards a better
Matthew
future.
Anthony,
You're saying it.
Matthew Anthony.
Just 10 seconds. Just
Yes,
10 seconds,
coming in.
Anusha.
Yes,
They're
yes.
saying this is going to be. This is
One
going-
second,
This
one
is
second.
a diversionary tactic for the
Yeah.
upcoming elections, which is exactly the reason. हर 2 महीने में तो elections हो जाते हैं. So
Niti,
everything
the
becomes
argument,
an election.
no, I take the first part of your argument. And the argument here is, Matthew, it is often being argued that whenever BJP wants to bring in a big ticket reform, they never consult the opposition parties. They do not follow the due process. They do not form standing committees. There is no white paper. The matter is not referred to the Law Commission. This time for a change, even if I were to accept your arguments that have been made earlier, they are following a process. There is a draft report by the Law Commission. There have been earlier reports as well. A committee is being formed in which experts have been roped in. Then what's the objection to it? There is no ordinance that has been brought in that anybody can argue that this is an assault on democracy. Substantiate your argument when you say this is an assault on democracy.
Article 1 of the Constitution says India is a union of states. And the states' electoral needs are completely different, or majority of them are completely different from the national interest. There is a line which is in unison. That's the federal structure of the country. Second is, when you come to the BJP's consultation and constitution of this committee, why is Harish Salve in the committee when he is a King's Counsel of UK? Aren't we compromising on our national security when somebody who is saying advising?
Niti, I'll come to you. You make that argument. Let him enlist his objections, and then we'll come to the fact that whether they're reasonable or not. Yes, Matthew, please go ahead.
Why there is only one elected representative in the committee? That's only the Home Minister. Why the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha is not there in the committee? Why are there not the state political parties leaders in the committee? You have the history of the Constitution Committee of this country. And we have wider consultations. We have representation from all walks of the life. There were diverse views across. There were contradicting views across. But we still put out a constitution from that one, from the Constitution Assembly. We made our constitution. We considered the larger part of the country, all aspects of it. The minorities of the minorities, the insignificant minorities, everybody was considered. The tribal interests were considered. Where is the confidence given by the BJP in such kind of consultations? The agenda itself speaks of the outcome.
So Matthew, one interjection.
Yes.
So you basically have a problem with the composition of the committee and not the idea per se. Is that correct to say then?
That is the first objection. The second
What is the
is
second
we
one?
are about the we are against the idea of one nation, one election, because the country's structure, the country's politics, the country's ethos have progressed from the 1950s to the 1967s to the 2023. The states have a lot of interest, and in order to keep that diversity, which is one of the unity in the diversity, which is one of our largest claims, which India has got across the country, across the world, is going to be affected with this one nation, one election, because in a study in 2015 done by IDFC Institute, 77% of the sample has agreed that they will vote for the single party in the state and the central elections if it is held together. 61% said that.
One second. I see the point that you're quoting a particular survey that has been, done in this regard. I don't have the survey in front of me. I take your broader point that there is some survey that says that, if there is one nation, one election. Yes, very briefly so that I can bring in others as well. 30 seconds.
In August 2018, Justice B.S. Chauhan also in his draft report said that this is not a feasible idea to do with the current constitution of the country, and there should be constitutional amendments for this one.
Yes.
So the last commission also reported that it's not a feasible idea. So that's my points to start with the debate with.
But I have to add to the last point. You're right that the draft report by Justice B.S. Chauhan said that the present constitutional framework will not permit you. You would require amendments, and certain constitutional amendments would also require 50% of the states to be on your side.
Exactly.
But the committee also said that in the long run, it's a good idea because it's going to save us a lot of money. And in the beginning, we would need around 10,000 crore rupees for a lot of infrastructure. The report was very nuanced. I've gone through that report of roughly 150 pages. It was very nuanced in the kind of recommendations it was making. It was also warning about the constitutional changes that had to be brought in. Mr. Rajgopalan, when you see this entire debate around simultaneous elections in this country, is it mere politicking, or perhaps the opposition parties need to give a serious consideration to this idea?
Opposition parties should be very, very responsible and considerate towards the government's, proposals. Just mere walking out of the committee by Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, putting one blame because of internal conflict in the Congress, they should not be playing to the, national interest. Apart from that, Anusha, Jairam Ramesh, when he was minister, he went to the Supreme Court against the Model Code of Conduct, saying that it is apprehending the implementation of certain progressive ideas of the government. Therefore, Model Code of Conduct should be removed from the Election Commission. So therefore, Sudarshan Nachiyappan, a Tamil Nadu Congress MP, headed a joint parliamentary committee in which Congress, DMK, TMC, all that India Alliance, alliance members were present. They unanimously passed the resolution, one election, one nation, one election should be considered. So, and they also set certain yardsticks. Apart from that, my understanding of the situation is, after reading 8 editorials today, major daily newspapers, and also for the last 3 days debates, there is a welcome decision by the voters that we need, because we are in digital world. One nation, one poll can be done by one computer. When you can digitally transform money from Delhi to France, Delhi to Singapore, Delhi, anywhere to anywhere.
Okay.
UPI has come. So therefore, when it is there, Congress is changing its goalpost. Because Mallikarjun Kharge is not there, we walk out. So Mallikarjun Kharge, they said, former Rajya Sabha leader of opposition, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, he representing the regional party, Ghulam Nabi Azad. Mallikarjun Kharge is not elected by the people.
No. It's
That
okay.
is why they did not include.
I think when it comes to the composition of the panel, there were certain points that Matthew Antony has made that I want the BJP to respond to. Niti, why are the state leaders not part of this panel? There was a particular name taken of a particular lawyer who is part of this panel, and the Congress party says it's something which is not good for our national interests. You might want to respond to that if you want to. But the fact that the regional representation on the panel is almost missing is sending alarm bells ringing. And that's why you have this some degree of fear-mongering going on, that this is against the federal structure of this country. Niti.
So, Anusha, first of all, when the Congress spokesperson talks about the federal structure, we are not clubbing the elections. The state elections will happen separately and the national elections will happen separately. So, to fear-monger about the whole point that this is going to club them, I gave you an example of Odisha in 2019. The state chose another leader, the national leader was different. So, to quote you, why this is going to be confusing. I think it's just confusing for the opposition because they just want to create an issue out of it. There were parties like Samajwadi Party and AIADMK and all of those other parties that had supported One Nation, One Vote. But just because they are in this so-called alliance now, that they've backtracked on these issues, and this is going to be the future of this issue. No party has their own thinking and everybody is just following something that does not even have a leader, so they don't even know what they're following in this entire manner.
I take the spirit of reform, and I take this spirit of reform as a student of constitution in this country. But to dismiss everything that has been raised against One Nation, One Election and call it fear-mongering, I believe would not be fair.
No, I'm not dismissing anything.
One interjection.
That is why the debate is happening.
Yeah. One of the things that was said by Justice B.S. Chauhan also in that report, I don't know if you've had the opportunity or the time to read it, but it argued on the fact that up till 1950s to 60s, there was the idea of simultaneous elections in this country, and it was a reality. The fact that the cycle of election was changed, the government was at the center was dissolved earlier, there were various state governments that were dismissed by the Congress party at the center that time, so the election cycle got disrupted. It was also noted that a very strong party at the center often tries to take advantage and have the idea of simultaneous elections. It benefits the party which is at the center. That's something that the Law Commission has noted. So there is some credence to the point that there can be a sway, there can be a wind, and the regional parties and the regional interests can all take a back seat, and it will be just one narrative driving the country.
So when you talk about 52 to 67, we were on paper ballot. There was no technology. The kind of election machinery that we had at that time was very different than what we have today. And I accept anybody, the opposition included, they can have issues with whatever reform is coming on, but that does not mean you will not even sit on the table and discuss about it. I think that is the problem today. You are even rejecting discussion on the matter just because you are scared of something that would happen. If you have a problem and whatever issues that you've raised, that is why a discussion is important, which is why this committee, and I am not even this committee that is discussing this entire matter, and if you're just rejecting being part of this also, I think that is not acceptable.
All right, Matthew, if you have a problem, sit on the table and talk about it. Even if I take all your objections on the face value, that look, there is no regional representation, Mr. Kharge has not been made a part of it, why is an ex-lawyer on the panel when he should not be on the panel, it's not something which is beneficial for the country. You can be part of that process, sit on the table and voice your concerns. Why do you want to remain out of the process?
We have seen this government for the last 9 years. And how many times this government has sat down and consulted. The last example which I can tell you is there are 150 plus bodies yet to be cremated in Manipur. And
one at a time.
Let me come to you. How many times the parliament has shown the magnanimity to sit down and discuss this?
Matthew, one second. All right, one second. Mr. Rajgopalan, Niti Jain, please, one second. Gentlemen, 1 second. Matthew, my request to you, can we please stay on the topic?
I'm staying on the topic. So
please,
how many times this government has shown the confidence of sitting down and discussing a particular topic, whatever be the topic it is? The black money which was supposed to be coming back to this country, 15 lakhs each, never came back. The 50 days
Madam, this is
never happened.
This is no sense.
No, I'm saying
there is no sense for the debate.
All right, one at a time. Let him make his argument. Let him make his argument, sir. Let him make his argument. Matthew, 30 seconds, then I have to wrap up. Can I just have Matthew, please? Can I just have Matthew?
Induce confidence. The government has failed to induce confidence for a conversation in any of the serious matters of this country in the last 9 years. That's a single point which I would like to make.
But Matthew, Anthony, the point is, if you don't sit on the table, how there would be any kind of confidence building measure?
No, we have an issue in the primary constitution of the committee, and the issue which they have been raised on One India and one elections, because we have a primary issue on that one. There needs to be a broader consultation.
Let's see. I mean, in my understanding, even if there is a problem in terms of the composition of the committee, nothing stops the opposition parties from sitting together and saying, look, we should have a better committee, or put your objections on the table and then walk out.
No,
for you to argue, you're not even going to be a part of it.
Because we are disagreeing with the fact of
this
entire
from all walks of life. So that is a broad spectrum of the committee that has been
let's see how this really plays out, but I thank you all for joining us on the broadcast. Indeed, this is going to be, if this reform is made a reality, it will be one of the biggest reforms that the world's largest democracy is going to see. Well, here's another big story. The national capital is all set to host the 2-day G20 summit on the 9th and the 10th of September. Delhi is all decked up. Heads of the states are going to arrive here. Here's a report on the preparations which have been made in the national capital.
So what exactly is the preparation as far as security and commuting in Delhi is concerned? From the 8th till the 10th, when the G20 summit is on, metro could be your main mode of transport. But what exactly should you watch out for as far as metro gates are concerned? These are the metro station gates which will be closed to commuters. The Supreme Court metro station is right opposite the venue of the summit meeting, and therefore that will be shut. Moti Bagh again crucial because a lot of hotels where dignitaries will be staying, so that will be taken care of by the Moti Bagh metro station. Avoid that. Bhikaji Kama Place, again a significant metro station whose gates will be shut. Munirka in South Delhi, and the RK Puram area. So Munirka, RK Puram, Moti Bagh, IIT, all the way which leads to Dhola Kuan. These are areas where metro station gates will be closed down. The Sadar Bazaar cantonment area, again for the same reason. These are areas which will have hotels where the dignitaries are staying, and therefore if you are taking these metros, avoid particular gates which have been notified by the Delhi police, the traffic police. If you are taking the road route, what is it that you should keep in mind? There are regulated zones that have been put in place. There is traffic advisory by the Delhi police. The entire area of Delhi have been divided into regulated zone, into control zone. What is allowed, what is not allowed. In the regulated zone, if you see, if you're a bona fide resident, you are allowed to move about. There are specific passes that have been issued as well to people who need to travel around. If you're going to the airport or the railway station, and if you have a genuine ticket, you will be allowed to move about. But be just prepared to have enough time at hand if you're going to the airport or the railway station. Authorized and emergency vehicles will also be allowed to move in the regulated zones. As far as the second zone is concerned, which is the control zone, again, if you're a bona fide resident living in a control zone, you will be allowed to move in. Emergency vehicles, authorized vehicles will be allowed to move in as well. Delhi police has assured that no essential service vehicle will be stopped in the area where the specific focus will be. The DDU Marg, the Vikas Marg area till Noida, Link Road, Pusta Road, you should be aware that these are areas which are in high security zone. The Mahatma Gandhi Marg from Delhi Meerut Expressway all the way up to Kashmiri Gate, this is an area which you should watch out for. Jawaharlal Nehru Marg from Rajghat to Guru Nanak Chowk. Rajghat is also a venue where the delegates could go to pay their respect to Mahatma Gandhi. So again, a no-go area. From Turkman Gate to the BSZ Marg, that is also a road which is seeing closure. The Ranjit Singh Marg from Barakhamba to the Guru Nanak Chowk, this Ranjit Singh Marg will be kept in high security zone. The IP flyover, the Shantivan Chowk, the Kashmiri Gate area, and the Shalimar Garh bypass. So this is an area, again, like I said, 3 parts have been made: the regulated zone, the control zone 1 and control zone 2. So if you are planning to move about through these routes on the 8th, 9th or 10th, from the morning 5 AM of 8th till midnight of 10th, you should keep this traffic advisory by Delhi police in mind.